Hello, everyone, and welcome to YUCI Talks. I'm your host, Angela Crockett, and today we're going to be speaking with Lobzang Wangtak. Lobzang is a glacier and water conservationist and co-founder of the Zanskar movement. Lobzang, welcome to YUCI Talks. Good to see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for giving this opportunity also.
Absolutely, it's our pleasure. And what's even more our pleasure is to hear all the amazing work that you are doing. You know, the platform of YUCI Talks is about inspiration and shining the spotlight on those who have done amazing things in the world. And you fit that mold. Could you be so kind, Lobzang, as to tell us, first of all, tell us who you are, and then we'll go into what you're actually doing in Zanskar.
Okay. To give you a brief, I think I'll have to describe a little bit about where I come from. So I come from a region called Zanskar within Ladakh in the northwestern Himalayas of India. And until very recently, this region has been cut off from the rest of the world for about 6 to 7 months, although Ladakh as a whole is cut off from the rest of India and the world for 6 months. But we as Zanskaris are cut off even further, even more within Ladakh. So for this period of 6 months, the only way to get into and out of Zanskar will be to walk in this frozen river and, for a few days and sleeping in caves. That's what we used to do when we used to go back home also after a long winter vacation to go back to school in Leh. We will have to walk 3 to 4 days, sleeping in caves, sometimes even, crossing freezing water till your knee and till your hips also. So I have grown, yeah.
That's scary.
It used to be fun. I really miss those times.
Oh, wow. Continue, please.
And I'm not talking about a time 30 or 40 years ago. It's just a few years ago, like even when I was in secondary school, going back to Leh after spending the winter here, So, and then you have to go a little back in time when I was growing up as a kid in Zanskar, just 3, 4, 5 years old, 6 years old, At that time, we had no outside touch whatsoever. Only in summers, you have a few visitors who are trekking and crossing this region, trekking for 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, crossing passes, crossing these really isolated villages. So for us, seeing a car was it was a mysterious thing, a magical thing. So we would see a car passing like a kilometer away from the village. All the kids would run to the car and see, oh, what is it? We used to think that these cars actually need grass or fodder to make them move, because we had only grown up seeing cattle and working in fields. So from that time to now, whatever is happening, for me, it feels like almost I've been put into a time machine, bam, 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 with no gradual. Suddenly, you're a 5, 6 year old child and you're a teenager already, and the teenager starts beginning, and you don't even immerse yourself in it. You're an adult already, and then you're older already. So it has been very rapid, these changes. So while this was happening, I grew up also in the adjacent main town in Ladakh called Leh for education, and then moved for further education in Delhi and more metropolitan cities. Then I got some opportunity to backpack also across Southeast Asia. So all these experiences, every place I went to, I always would compare it with the place I came from, So it was always there. And the more I was pursuing more like, specialized field of studies, the more I felt lost, and I thought something is missing. And then till the point I realized that my passion has always been there, and it's about this place. It's about Zanskar. So it's really comes from that, Zanskar is growing up with me, and certain experiences, exposures, and certain opportunities that I've gotten, I'm able to see, certain problems, certain challenges, at the same time, so much hope that I want to contribute to this place. And yeah, and water is one of them.
And we'll touch on that. You're there in Zanskar now, correct?
Yeah.
What makes you stay there? I mean, what you just shared, that is far different from my life growing up as a child. And seeing, I guess, was that normal because you didn't know anything else at the time? But after experiencing that and then experiencing other cities, what makes you stay?
Well, it's really me as an individual. Every individual strives for something that is beyond ourselves. We have our desires. We want to have certain kind of stability, security, certain kind of facilities. And I've gotten all that opportunities also, seeing places and even working with the corporate also for some time. But it was always that I was moving further away from who I really was. And that wouldn't have been complete without being back home and contributing something. So after my university, I started working with in a corporate company. I was getting paid well, also more opportunities, more prospects. I had to go back. No matter what I'm able to do, in little ways or big ways. I knew that the little things that I will do here, I'll be more satisfied than gaining all that fame and money or whatever the materialistic chase that we all go after, But then at the same time, has that eradicated from my life? I don't think so. But I felt like the more I'm connected to myself, the more I'm connected to the region I come from, the more I'm able to actually spread my wings further and join more places, go, take bigger journeys, I suppose.
So you feel that's basically it's a calling, really. Something that has called you, that you're passionate about. And that I find with callings, no matter what or how challenging they can be, we can't get away from it if we wanted to. It's that burning desire deep in us that calls us to do something, help in some way, uplift in some way, edify in some way, change the course of a direction of life in some way. Callings are deep, and I love callings. I love talking to people who have callings and passions, because it shows that you understand the reason you were put on this earth, basically. And that's really what I'm hearing when I hear you speak. Did you have a normal childhood, would you say?
Not really. No. In terms of me, had to leave home when I was 6 years old, mainly for education. So I would be away for almost a year, and I'll see my parents after 2 or 3 years, or once in a year for like 10 days or so. And it was pretty normal from the place I came from, because there were already so many other children who had to move away from their own home as little as 4 years old, 5 years old, in search of education, But the fortunate thing that happened for me was I was at least able to come once in 2 or 3 years, or once, frequently than the other people. So I was always in touch with this place. And as I was comparing Zanskar with other places, I just felt like the fate of Zanskar could be different. There's so much learnings, whether it's about town planning, kind of tourism, we want kind of conservation effort that should go on in conserving wildlife or environment or water, and overall the ecology of these very fragile ecosystems, So that's something I really wanted to make an attempt, and I wanted to be a bridge in all the ways possible. I'm not an expert in anything. So I come from this community, seeing these problems, and I see like we are doing it wrong as human species, as a country, as a government. We have been doing it wrong, So just dedicating myself in it, the more I do that, the more I associate myself with these kind of work, the more I feel self-worth or more confident, and also this love for things beyond yourself. The yourself changes to something much bigger than this little cocoon, which is very insecure at times, which is very ambitious at times, but you see the world in a very macro picture and the universe as a whole. You're just a medium maybe, and at the same time you are an insignificant part of the universe, and at the same time you are also the universe. So the more we stretch our hand, the more we allow ourselves to be loved and to be able to love other things and other beings and nature also, that allows you to really be invincible at times. So to almost at a point you think of something, I'll be able to do that, we'll be able to do that. You don't know how it's going to happen exactly, but things start, these puzzles start coming. Are you ready to receive all that?
Very powerful. Very powerful.
That
yes,
sense.
That it is. Break down for us what are the challenges in your area, and go into the company, you being the co-founder of, and what work you're doing there.
Okay. The core thing that I focus on right now is glaciers and water, mainly because there are already so many villages. The region I come from has an area of 7,000 square kilometers, and there are about 54 villages and hamlets spread across 3 valleys, and it is home to more than 800 glaciers and home to 3 big rivers. And the volume of the Zanskar river that originates in Zanskar has more volume than the Indus, which comes all the way from Tibet, traveling 1,000 kilometers, So it is a reserve of freshwater reserves, like the third pole, away from the polar regions. If you have these reserves, these are in the Himalaya and Hindu Kush, and we belong to one such little pocket in the Himalayas. So it was very disheartening when I finished my high school and came back home. I got an opportunity to work as a project coordinator for a study abroad program based out of Seattle Institute for Village Studies. So the idea was to bring students from universities from different backgrounds to come and immerse themselves with very isolated and ancient communities and be a part of the family, immerse themselves, and in return they get credits, they have to do assignments, write journal. So as we were doing that, at the end of that experience, we had to actually work with the community to come up with a solution like the community has as a whole needs. And the more villages we went to, more communities we went to, it seemed like, okay, more and more villages are facing some sort of water problems, So that became like a mirror reflection because I was going to be part of the community, and soon, like if I follow a conventional lifestyle, coming from a small village in the Himalayas, that would mean, and very soon I'll have to also get married and look after these fields, look after these houses, and raise a family. When I know that this water problem is going to go bigger than this, and there's going to be bigger threat than this, knowing that I couldn't see myself in the community, knowing that bigger problem, without making sure there's a solution. I wouldn't want to be in that space. And yeah, that's the reason why I'm not married, by the way.
Okay. You're razor focus right now. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, my own village was facing the scarcity, and it seemed like this was a new phenomena. And I was asking the older people, like, have you seen these kind of problems in the earlier times? They would remember, like, they are 50 or 60 years. They remember, 30 years ago, there was one time where we had like drought situation, but not frequently as this. And overall, since 2010, the snow pattern, the precipitation, both in the form of rain and snowfall, has also significantly reduced, So although you might not have quantifiable exact data, but these villages have been there for, years. They have seen streams dry up. They have seen springs run up. They've seen glaciers disappear. So it was a very prominent observation these communities were observing. And more I talked to elderly and the more I talked to the young people and even visited some of those glaciers, took samples and understand what's happening. So to a point when I was researching, then I came across some papers telling that in 2010, they had already predicted that in the next 3 decades, most of these glacier-dependent villages in Zanskar would not survive. Because today we need to understand when we talk about thermal and glaciers, we tend to smear it with the umbrella definition of saying, oh, global warming and climate change is making these glaciers disappear. When we talk about glaciers like this, we seem to only think about the large glaciers, which are feeding the major rivers, But we need to understand the small communities which are dependent on traditional dependent glaciers, which are smaller, much smaller in size, which used to depend solely on snowfall. Now that is a problem, and more villages are facing. This year itself, we have recorded 23 villages out of 54 facing some mild to severe drought in the region. So I had to find solutions. So at that time in 2013 and 14, the already climate adaptation technique that was actually experimented and being applied in many villages was called artificial glaciers. So the idea was in the autumn when the farmers don't need the glacier melt anymore, they would build check dams along a different elevation, let the velocity of the water break and spread across more surface area so that you stock up that ice in the winter and autumn. So early spring when you need it for the first irrigation water or sowing or even to humidify the fields before you start tilling. Earlier, this enough snowfall would be able to suffice this first initial need for irrigation. So now that was a problem. So these techniques, one of the solution, and after 2015, there was a new technique called ice stupa, which are conical structure of ice, which was innovated and invented by an experimenter and environmentalist based out of Ladakh. So his idea was similar, but this was a conical structure with lesser surface area, so it will last longer in the summers when it melts because it receives less sunlight, and it's more compactly packed. When I was thinking and actually worked on a few of these, the more I understood these as banded solutions, very short term, because to make artificial glaciers and ice stupa, you're still dependent on a source that are glaciers. And these glaciers, the traditional dependent small glaciers, are disappearing at an alarming rate. What happens if 5 years from now the glacier isn't there? So you can't make artificial glaciers, you can't make ice stupa also. So I was thinking about a more sustainable solution at the same time, very scalable, because in real time you have multiple villages facing this scarcity. What do you do then? And we didn't want to involve humans. We didn't want to have too much maintenance going on because we wanted a solution that would last for another 20, 25 years. And once in a while we do some maintenance, that's okay. So thinking about that, the context of the region I come from, more than 90% of these villages are along rivers. The Zanskar rivers, I was talking about the 3 tributaries that join the Zanskar river. Most of these villages, 90% of these villages along the river. So the villagers are very used to just seeing this traditional because they've only seen them dependent on these traditional glaciers. They don't know that water could actually travel from against the gravity using technology. There are no proven examples there. So the sun was abundant, technology was already available in the market. So you just needed to bring this together, understand the plight of the communities, and come up with solution which you can implement very quickly, and at the same time create much more impact. Because as years go by and as the trend exists this way, like of erratic precipitation to loss of glaciers, we'll see more and more communities having to move out of their traditionally, dependent glaciers and their settlements, and which is already happening in Zanskar. 20 years ago, a cluster of two villages, Shun Marshun, have completely left their inherited settlement and moved away. And
I can imagine.
So these are happening. And I want to start with this community and this region because I come from this region, and I've been very lucky to find 3 friends who were also, who came with different sets of skills and who were also passionate about the Himalayas, who already wanted to work in this space. And one at a time, we kind of cover as many villages as we can in the Himalayas.
Wow. Have been inspired by him. I hope you have as well. And as far as we are concerned here at YUCI Talks and Youth United Council of India, our website should be up soon. It's under construction. I'm looking forward to seeing it because I've been told it's really going to be really exciting. But until next time, and we're all on LinkedIn too. Youth United Council's on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, so you can keep up with us there. So again, everyone, thank you so much for your time. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have been inspired by his amazing message. And until next time, until next week, create an awesome week for yourself. Ciao.